Guys, you gotta help me out, man. I was playing
What's
last
wrong?
night. Well, okay, so this kid is like starts yelling at me in team chat, and then I mute him, right? He's being very rude. Okay, fine. And then he starts sending me messages, and I report him. I block him. I'm not encouraging, saying the meanest stuff to me, like totally uncalled for.
Okay.
And then I get a call on my phone. I don't know how this kid found me, but like every time I reveal something personal about myself, this kid is just right there. Like tonight, for example. Okay, so it's a little bit of a dry spell. We've got some time before D2. I don't know what we're supposed to be talking about. I'm a little nervous. Am I good enough to do a podcast? Can I put on a good podcast when there's nothing new in the game world to talk about?
You can't think of what to do on a podcast? That's because you're a huge turd, man. You suck.
Oh, kid, leave me alone, kid. How did you even find me here?
You're so stupid. You can't even think of what to say. That's because you're an idiot. Because you have no brain.
No, yeah, you have no brain.
You have no brain because you smell too many of your own farts.
I do not drink my own farts. You drink your own farts.
I didn't even say drink, and then you did, so that's proof. I said smell, you said drink.
How did you even make it into our secret podcast recording bunker? You guys,
I don't know, because I'm smarter than you piece of shit.
I'm smarter than you. And I'm taller and I'm bigger, and I don't need to make fun of other people just to feel good about myself.
You can't possibly feel good about yourself.
Guys.
Oh, damn.
Bonesy, we gotta kill this kid.
Hold on. This is a child, Birds. Why are you struggling with this so much?
But why is he so mean to me?
You're an adult
Doesn't
man.
Make any sense.
Yeah, you're an adult man. An adult
Bonesy, stop feeding him. You're just making it worse, man. Andrew, drop the beat. Let's start the show. Hey guys, I think I managed to block that kid from hacking into our podcast network to mess with me. So
yeah, that was really weird. You got a serious troll on your hands.
I haven't been bullied since I was in middle school. But this kid's a pro. He's in practice.
Well,
anyways,
you're an adult, and this is a show that we got to do. So I'm glad you solved it, and hopefully we can just go on with our lives and do a good podcast, right?
Yep, we'll keep it together for a podcast of Crucible Radio 2. Podcast for all things Destiny 2 PvP. Yeah, I'll find a way to end this kid. I know we're not like doing the triangle round this time, but I'm genuinely curious. Bones, how are you doing?
I am doing pretty great. We're recording on a Friday. That means I'm done with a pretty long work week that was not the most fun, and I'm happy to have a weekend to sit back and play video games. But anyways, hello. I'm Bones. This is Birds and Swain. They're going to say hello too. We've been starting off season 2 talking about one of our favorite moments from D1 because, it's coming to an end. And I was thinking of my favorite big Crucible game where I felt like, wow, I did great and I want to do that again. And it was really early on in year 1. And I went off just completely on Twilight Gap. I got 42 kills. And I remember I was using a Vanquisher, the auto rifle, found Verdict from Vault of Glass and a Galahorn on a Voidwalker. And it was when Blink shotgunning was not quite at its peak, but really becoming the strategy. And I was just like, oh man, that felt so good to just go on an absolute killing spree. And that's really when I just started pushing for more games like that and playing a lot of Crucible. What about you guys?
So I'm going to say that my favorite Crucible match was a match on Pantheon. Nothing crazy, but just I think it was like a control match. And I distinctly remember it because I pulled a clip from it and showed you guys. And it was probably one of the first times I really started using Sun Charge. And I remember sending it to you guys and be like, what? This is just, this happens all the time whenever you use it. Like this is just a normal thing that no one's doing, and it's very weird that no one's doing it. So that's my favorite Destiny 1 PvP moment.
Well, I'm Birds, and I'm not going to do the same example I always give every time we talk about this. I'm going to give a different one. I remember when I was first getting into Rumble. When I was first getting into the old Rumble.
Sounds like you got into the rum tonight.
Yeah. Not yet. And I'd gotten over sort of like the jimmies, like just the panic of being on your own in there and the sheer stress of it. I was starting to cool off. And I remember this match very clearly. I had won a couple at this point. I'd started winning Rumbles, but this was on Asylum. And the competition level was pretty good. And right off the bat, I was down like 500 points. Like some guy went off, he was 800. I was down at 300. I caught up around 1,500. I was running, God, was this Fellwinter's era? It might have been right after Fellwinter's. I might have been using a Party Crasher.
Party Crasher, Matador World.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. The joy of re-rolling. And I remember I knew I just wanted to get control of B. Get B, work both side spawns, go back and forth. And it just clicked. And somewhere around 1,500, I started catching up, fell back around 2,000. And then I remember putting together my last 4 kills. And I was like psyched and hyped and in it. But I remember I was also kind of cool. I had my plan. I was sticking to it and it was working. And then that final kill was like a non-kill. It wasn't like a beautiful chain slide shotgun or something. Like I just cleaned somebody up who was absolute with the hand cannon shot, but I won. And I remember thinking like, okay, you can do this. You can get better. And the things that used to be difficult can become easy with practice and good strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That Asylum match.
Well, and that's the exact kind of thing that we're going to be talking a lot about in this new series we're working on. But first, anything in the Destiny world coming up? I think a few events. Well, we've got E3 to look forward to. We're going to be seeing some Arcstrider gameplay, which I'm sure we will discuss next week by the time we get a chance to watch. We're not going to E3. We'll be nearby. We'll probably be drinking afterwards. Very nearby, but we're excited to see that gameplay. And we're also, in a couple weeks, heading to Guardian Con.
Yeah. We got our party mansion all sorted out. You're not invited because it's not actually a mansion, and we probably
wouldn't hold that many people
all that much. But we got it, and this is gonna be fun. They did such a good job last year, and they really, I think, got the proof and the buy-in that they needed to show that they can like do this thing up big and do it right. Mm-hmm. And it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, we also have, I'm pretty sure we talked about it before, but we are going to be doing a live podcast from Guardian Con. It's going to be pretty awesome. It's going to be the first time we're actually doing a live podcast.
I know. New for our format.
You'll really get to see how terrible we are at this.
We're going to need Andrew live on the 7-second delay. Just cleaning it up.
We're just behind a curtain. Like, yes, this is definitely not on a delay. These are not holograms you see of birds' bones swaying.
To prevent future embarrassment, we'll just admit it. We'll come clean right now. Crucible Radio episodes are recorded over a process of 6 hours of trying to get down intelligent, coherent thoughts, and they are trimmed down to about an hour.
This is actually the 8th time we've done this opening banter. It's finally starting to click. This one feels good.
This one feels natural. We're very we're responding to each other in a timely fashion. It's going well.
We normally hit the record button, and then there's 3 hours of us just talking about what we've been up to.
Yep. We like to get that on tape. We really like to document it, edit it all down, listen to it.
Well, like Andrew's not always here, so like we like to update him on our lives, let him know how we're
I also listen to all 3 of those recordings individually by myself on Sundays.
Yeah, I always appreciate how you give feedback on how I sound when you listen to my mic track in isolation.
Yeah, it takes a while, and I don't know what you're responding to, but then by the time I've hit the 3rd track, I get to fill in the blanks, and then it makes sense. But all right, anyways.
This is a good bit.
This is a great bit. This is a nice meta podcasting bit, what we're known for.
I was going to do a whole thing about how I individually record me kind of chuckling to like they're on separate tracks. Andrew lays them all in. I'm
Swain
like, yeah,
is
I'm gonna
emotionless while recording the actual episode, and he laughs or reactions are just post.
Yep.
Andrew just got like every Swain chuckle mapped to a different key on his 88 key keyboard. It's like an episode of Seinfeld. Did you guys know that the guy who did the Seinfeld intro recorded every single episode theme song, like intro thing? He recorded a new one for every episode.
Yeah, I did know that, and I think that's so stupid.
Smart?
No, dumb.
Oh, okay. Clever? Okay. It kept him in work, man.
I guess. He's just like, he told the producers, like, no, sorry, I have to. So
it's just not going to work if you just keep playing it.
You got to keep paying me for the studio time.
All right. Well, despite my biggest fears as actualized by my 11-year-old bully who keeps haunting me, I think we actually do have a pretty interesting episode laid out right now. This is going to be our first in a series of many episodes, wrapping up D1 and kicking off D2. We're at the end of this game. I think we got it all figured out. We're calling this our Back to Basics. And we're going to cover the things that we've worked on in the years we've been recording this show, the progression, the sort of different areas, and help you identify maybe what's the next thing you want to work on, or how can you come up with a better practice routine, or you might be a Rumble pony, but you want to get into some serious Rift play. Well, what do you need to know about Rift that's different? We're going to be tackling all this stuff over the next couple episodes, but this first one is an interesting one. We're sort of kicking it off here. Yeah,
it's going to be a good spot to look back and see and do a little bit of look on the inside and see how you're doing and kind of judge yourself and find where you are in the current game that is Destiny, and prepare yourself. Use this time before Destiny 2 to maybe move to the next level. Start a little bit higher than you were in D1 in D2.
Yeah, so today's episode is all about what to work on at your skill level. If you are a lower skill player, there are specific things you can do to improve your game, just like there are very specific things that very skilled players are working on to improve their game. And this kind of came to us inspired by other games that have very strict laid out ranking systems, and that's not Destiny's world. It could be in the future, who knows? But this sort of thing is not so exclusive to something like Overwatch. This is just how it works across all games. You kind of know where you're at in terms of the bigger picture. And without those emblems next to your name in a game like Destiny, all you have to do for this, while we refer to certain skill levels using those emblems, is work your way up from the bottom. So you started all those basic things, the real simple stuff, right? We're going to be talking about just shooting your gun. Once you know you can do that, you can kind of keep moving up this list. And when you hit a spot where you go, oh, okay, I didn't think of that. Or, yeah, I actually need to work on that. That's exactly where you are on this list. And you know exactly where to work from.
This is key. Now, it's easy to go on YouTube and watch, some extremely high level trials plays, or go watch your favorite streamer, see the stuff you're working on. But the truth is that if you're still working on the basics of, your game sense or your basic positioning movement skills, then it's not going to be very helpful to be focusing on sort of high level team positioning tactics. There's kind of an order to this. So we're going to move through these standard rankings: bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, and master. These are used in a lot of games, and don't get too hung up on it, and let us know if you think you've got a sort of a better priority. But we're going to sort of start from the bottom and work our way up for the key skills at each step of your Destiny progression. So let's dive right in. Maybe just to sort of set the stage a little bit. We were talking this over, and these are the rankings that we came up with. These are the key ideas. At the absolute lowest level, call it bronze, your beginner level, it's all about just the basics. Can you shoot your gun, pick up a loadout, getting a handle on the controls, figure out, how you want to set that controller up and start hitting your headshots.
Yeah, or picking guns. When you go into your, inventory, you're not using, ill will over your IS Luna. it's, making that choice as to what will be good.
Yeah, and beyond knowing what buttons do what, when we're talking about learning those controls and beginning to master them, it's how do they work in tandem with the others. So are you jumping and reloading at the same time? Are you making sure to be effective with your button pressing? Are you using cover to peek and backing into cover and reloading? I mean, if you go a few episodes back, I actually talk about my girlfriend learning a shooter for the first time and how this stuff was not instinctual to her. And it is for a lot of Destiny players, but sometimes it can help to just think of it in the most literal sense of what do I do in what order and how do I get my thumbs to sort of move efficiently across the controller so that I'm not stopping, pressing a button and realizing, oh, I could have been running while I did this.
So essentially me with a keyboard looking down like, all right, what button am I pressing? Is this the T? Yeah. Oh, why am I pressing T? Okay, press E. Okay.
And that's exactly it, Swain. And when I just talk about instincts is like, you've been playing Overwatch on PC. You know how Overwatch works. You know how shooters work. Obviously, you know what happens when Roadhog's hook flies out and grabs someone.
Watch it. You're walking a fine line. We're going to get some mail.
But so that sort of instinct is there, but we're talking strictly mechanics where you're like, all right, I know what happens. I just got to figure out what buttons do what, and can I press them without looking down at my hands?
Yep. That's the hardest part.
I think there's sort of two parts at this level that you can focus on. The first is stuff that you can do out of game. So this is, the start screen, figuring out what gun you want to run and matching it with the secondary. And maybe you're feeling like you want to use an auto rifle. And knowing that an auto rifle really does best in close ranges. You're not going to be mapping people with your Doctor of Passion. And then there's the other half, which is, you kind of have your loadout. Maybe you pair it with a sniper rifle for longer ranges. And you want to focus on how do I use it. So this is going into the match. And I think there's a pretty basic thing here. Are you hitting people when you shoot? And are you getting headshots? Mm-hmm. And I mean, we could probably talk about just this alone for the whole episode. But I think one of the important lessons that I learned early on is that once you kind of go ADS, once you take that first shot, it becomes much more difficult to correct. If you're trying to swing the crosshairs over to get over somebody because that first shot went way, way wild, you're already in a bad place. So maybe just sort of the first thing you want to check is, am I landing my first shot? Am I hitting a headshot with it? Am I saying after the first time I pull the trigger, all right, time to hit a follow-up shot, or am I still trying to course correct and even land one in the first place? And I think once you sort of get there, once you're able to reliably shoot someone at whatever range is appropriate for your gun, then you're ready to start moving up. And if you can't do that, then you really just need to focus on that. And I think that just kind of comes with playing and with practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So at the second stage, if we're talking about the silver rank, we are going to get into movement skills and traveling with both authority and thought. So I think, in my opinion, this is where a lot of learning the game itself happens. So you know how to move forward through a story mission and shoot the Fallen, but now you go into the Crucible and you're thinking, what's going on? So immediately, the first thing you would do is react to what is happening in front of you as it happens and probably just shooting at the things that move, right? Like that is the first thing you do when you have no idea what's happening.
I think the biggest thing for me here is authority and thought, because movement skills, once you learn them and once you are proficient in them, you can almost forget about the other things where the authority and thought, where you're just like aimlessly, running into fights or, charging forward. You need to be able to think about your movement as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And here's where abilities start stacking and building and you start developing a skill and a play style and you're starting to figure out this game. So, beyond just pressing X to know that's going to lift you up into the air and hopefully you'll figure out a not deathly place to land. Now you're starting to think about, okay, if I chain this jump here, I can make it to that platform and duck into a door right in time. Or I can't use all of my double jumps too fast, or then I'm going to fall short and I'll get trapped in this room. You're also thinking about adding in slides to your movement, crouching around corners. So you might be shooting for a little bit, peek back into cover, but the next time you come out, you'll go, oh, I think I should crouch here because that'll throw off my enemy. That kind of thing starts stacking on top of each other and starts, it's when you start to see good plays kind of string together. Like, wow, I killed 2 guys in a row and I did it pretty efficiently.
You also know it's working when you decide to run away and you manage to make it away in one piece. This one's interesting to me. Like, okay, when you pick your class, you pick your subclass, you are signing up to learn a certain set of movement skills. So obviously, if you're playing a Titan, and we're talking about D1 here, then skating, you have to know it. You have to know, how do I get a high speed going? How do I not just stay locked to the ground? And also start learning, okay, how do I skate backwards? How do I skate laterally? On Warlock, and this one's actually a little bit trickier, you kind of learn how to surf. So you get that little bit of focus burst right on your descent. On Hunter, it becomes a little bit different. If you're wearing Bones of Yao, then you're going to be able to really jump, traverse the map, get up to some high places, play some jumpy games around corners, around the edges. But the important thing is that you're kind of committing. You're saying, all right, I'm going to stick with this subclass for a minute at least. How do I move like other players? And at the same time, that's the big picture stuff. That's booking it across the map. That's jumping up to that good high ground, being able to do that. I think there's really small motions that matter too. So when you peek out from that corner, can you peek in a real minimal way? Can you stand in such a way that you take advantage of that head glitch? Or even just, can I crouch here behind cover for a second, get my health back, and go off radar at the same time? So it is both the big picture stuff, but also the little stuff.
Yeah, those little movements are also just the little things you do to stay alive while shooting, right? Like, you're not just going to stand still and hold the trigger. You're starting to string together motions and think, oh, I can actually shake a guy off by using real small techniques to just sort of outdo my opponent in a 1v1 scenario.
So, everyone's going to be working on movement for as long as they play this game, in the same way that people work on gun skill for as long as they're playing it. But I think there's one thing that's a really good indicator that you've kind of mastered the bronze and the silver levels together. And that is, how is your look? Just your basic look. I notice in gameplay a lot that people tend to stare at the ground as they run, or they're moving in such a way that they're staring at their feet, or they're just kind of aimed at their opponent's knees instead of being positioned for a headshot. And when you have your gun skill in place, you have your movement skill in place, your look can kind of become about, where am I going to be setting myself up to best engage the enemy, and not just about, I need to jump up on this thing, or I need to get away.
And that very naturally leads into the next skill ranking, which we're calling gold. And that
we're
gold,
innovators. Yeah,
I know. Crucible Radio, you heard it here first. Gold is really where your average casual player might fall. A huge chunk of the population is going to be in gold. And at the gold level, this is where you're going to start working on awareness and what's going on all around you, not just on your screen in front of you, but throughout the game, across the map. You're going to be paying attention to your radar in advanced ways. You're going to know the maps. You're going to know the rat lanes. And you're also going to know, okay, what mechanics should I expect? What are Guardians doing with their supers? Is someone ready to come blow us up on B, or are we pretty good to cap this point?
This is also where you would start to think about, especially in a game mode like Rumble, is where are the spawns? Where are people showing up on the map? Where, hey, I killed that guy. Where am I going next to kill the next guy? It's stringing together that awareness of where everyone is on the map, including yourself.
And a lot of awareness is registering what's happening in the game, what details and information the game gives you, but knowing what to do with it. Because everyone knows that there's a radar and that there's a red blip, and that means bad guy. And everyone knows that in Control, you want at least one capture point and you should get the other ones. But what does it mean? How do I react when there's something on my radar? Do I just wait for something to happen, or can I do something before I see that enemy that puts me in a better position to win once that engagement actually occurs? Things like that.
I think that's such an important point. Like, if you want to make it out of this gold level, the first thing you have to do is just realize what's going on. So your world is more than just, there's some red in this direction on my radar. I want to go there. I want to fight those guys. This has to be something that really starts to inform your decision making. And a really good way to know if it's working or not is that you stop dying so much. Especially playing sixes, there's potentially a lot of people on any part of the map at any given point. Mm-hmm. And when you can make, sort of a realization that, like, all right, I'm on Anomaly. There's 3 people up on Catwalk, and I think I saw someone just run up the stairs to go there too. That making that realization is the first part of it, but the second part is making your decision based off of it. So, maybe you don't want to go stand on B at that point. Maybe if you sort of peek up the ramp towards B, you might get, that sniper might pick you because he's waiting for you there. And once you start to get a sense of where the bulk of the enemy team is, where the big fight's happening, where people are likely to be spawning, you start kind of naturally making better decisions. And I think this is where you really start to see your KD go up. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily because you're putting up more kills, but because you're dying less.
It's also you're utilizing, when you're moving from gold onto the next platform, you're looking to start manipulating other people's thoughts on these things. Like, you're trying to think like, hey, I'm going to force this person to put their head into this rat lane. I'm going to force this person to use their super, or I'm going to manipulate the radar here so that they think I'm right next to them, but I'm actually around the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't really bait out a grenade or kind of include that in your decision-making process if you don't know if enemies have grenades and if
how many grenades they have.
Yep. And granted, that's tricky in sixes or mayhem. But in threes, that's not real tough to do. You can get that sense pretty quickly.
A real good quick way to tell if you are a gold player that needs to work their way into platinum is how often your super comes in handy and makes a big play and is more than just sort of a reactionary save my life kind of thing. Like, are you just getting that Titan smash off because someone charged you and you've had it the whole game? Or did you really push up when you know that 3 guys were capping B and you dropped a Nova Bomb on them at the right time? Or you just wiped out everyone sitting on heavy ammo because you were ready for that and you knew it was coming at that point in the game. At that point, you know that you're taking advantage of the information that you know is in front of you rather than just reacting.
I think I've got at least one last thing to say on this one. That the first part of awareness is, what is the enemy team up to? Because you don't want to die. You don't want to get shot in the head. You don't want to be shooting somebody and just get totally ambushed by someone you probably know is there. But another big part of it is learning where your own team is as well. And these are things like, all right, you die, you respawn. You can see your own team. You've got information from your radar. Do you get a sense of, oh, I'm playing sixes. I see 4 little name tags bobbing off in the distance there. This is where the action is happening. This is what side we're spawning from as a group. This is where it's safe to go. And even if you've got nothing on your radar, just seeing where the rest of your team is and how they're moving, that can give you a ton of information about kind of what's going on in the rest of the game that can, help you not die on your way to the battle. Well, let's take a moment to pause here and kind of cover what we've talked about so far. We've looked at bronze. This is the basics of shooting. Can you kill people? Can you kill people all the way and not just kill them halfway?
Are you picking the right stuff?
Yep. And once you've picked your weapons, you start getting into some of the silver level loadout stuff. Are you running an exotic like Twilight Garrison that's going to give you some movement abilities? Or you're running Bones of Yao, or You're just boosting up that agility, and you're able to make good decisions about how to get from point A to point B and execute them well. And you're now an effective individual. You're not bad at Destiny. You're able to work the controller okay. You start coming online to everything else that's going around you. It's at this point that we start moving from the personal, the individual stuff that we're all working on all the time anyways, and we start getting into the bigger picture. So we're gonna get into that. But first, let's give a shout out to our sponsor this week. They've been helping the show happen for the last couple weeks, and we're very grateful. And we want to tell you about this awesome thing called Dollar Shave Club.
That's right, Dollar Shave Club. It's the smarter choice. You get a great shave at a great price, and it's conveniently delivered right to your door. It's an awesome life hack. It's a total no-brainer. You don't have to go to the store and buy a cheap disposable razor, and it doesn't give you a cheap shave, and you don't have to spend a fortune on the fancy ones with all the gimmicks. It's just smart.
I love my Dollar Shave Club razor. I love not having to think about, time to add more razors to the grocery list because this last shave is going to be a little bit dicey. But when I use my Dollar Shave Club executive razor, I always pair it with Dr. Carver's shave butter. I legitimately love this shave butter. I cannot get enough. I will never shave without it. The blade just glides through. It gives me a great, close, smooth shave. And you can get in on this too. You can make the smarter choice by joining Dollar Shave Club.
So for a limited time, new members get their first month of the executive razor with a tube of their Dr. Carver's shave butter for only $5 with free shipping. After that, razors are just a few bucks a month. That's a $15 value for only $5. So in your first month, you'll get an awesome weighty handle, a full cassette of 4 cartridges, and a tube of the shave butter. And then after your first month, replacement cartridges ship automatically at their regular price. There are no hidden fees and no commitments, so cancel at any time you like. You can only get this offer exclusively at dollarshaveclub.com/crucible. That's dollarshaveclub.com/crucible. Crucible.
All right, boys, should we start talking about some high-level play, the upper echelons?
Moving on up.
Let's do it. It's probably safe to say that every topic we've covered so far and every topic that we're going to cover in a second here, we could probably make a whole episode of. And we probably will, because this is only the beginning of our Back to Basics series. But let's look at the big picture. Bonesy, what comes next?
Okay, so moving on from gold, it's platinum.
Oh, thank you, Swain.
Swain got it. Swain knows what's up.
I win.
Platinum's about winning. And so he's demonstrating that clearly. In platinum, we are talking about mastering positioning, which is awareness at its finest, and also fine-tuning and really mastering higher level mechanics. So this goes beyond just knowing that the right trigger shoots, but how can I combine all of the things at my arsenal to make amazing, really effective kills? So should we talk about positioning before we get into the mechanics?
Let's do this first. I think positioning it's pretty clear that you can't work on your positioning until the basics are in place, because it's a combination of all these things. That you need to have a sense of what's going on in the game to know when it's time to reposition. Maybe you had an engagement go south, they got you absolute, you're on the run, you need to find a better angle. Maybe you just mushed them and you want to press the advantage, push farther towards their spawn, or just get into an advantageous position to support your teammates. You've got this idea, you've got the opportunity, you know what you want to do, and then you also need the skill to execute it, because you might only have a couple seconds, especially if the fight's going on and you're just trying to find an angle to surprise them by. So you need to be able to move quick. You need to be able to land that first jump up onto the tall thing to get your high ground. Yeah. And these things together, these are the basics for identifying a good position, getting into a good position. We call it positioning, and it's what wins you games at this level.
Positioning is one of my favorite things to ever talk about in Destiny or in shooters in general. And I like to think of it as big and large positioning, but then those smaller ones too. I guess you could probably say micro and macro. Macro is stuff that you're doing before the engagement. Your team just got a nice team kill. They're respawning. Where they're going to respawn. and you're ready and waiting. Like, have you ever been the guy to run into a room and you see that guy right in front of you and you're getting him down to low health and you're like, I got you. And then someone from across the map just picks you off and you're like, oh, that's where that guy was. It happens quite all the time. And it's because that person knew where you were going to be and they just positioned for it. They did very little effort, but that's because they made a smart choice beforehand. So knowing where to be before the engagement starts is crucial.
Let me give an example of that macro one, because when you said that, I realized exactly what that is for me. This is playing threes on Exodus Blue. When you decide that you're going to book it inside, you're going to start approaching C, you're going to play that close game, you got your shotgun out, you're in there, you're fighting, you've just made it up the stairs, and then that guy beans you with the sniper rifle because he got up on top of those boxes and was just watching, just waiting for you to get there. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you were that guy who got up there and you just got the double with your sniper rifle and you're going to put it in your montage.
Yeah, so on the other side of the scale is micro positioning, and this I know I could do a solo episode on, but it's just the little ways you can move and make smart decisions in the middle of a fight that keeps you safe, both from the guy that's trying to kill you and from anyone else who wants to come help. So there's always situations where you get pinched, right? That's because the other team's doing smart positioning where they said, I'll go this way, you go that way, we'll get them in the middle. Yeah. And sometimes it's really, really, really hard to get out of that if someone made a smart play. But you can always think, all right, I'm shooting this guy through a doorway. But if I stand inside this door, there's someone to the left. I don't need to push all the way up. I'll shoot him from right here. And then once he's dead, I'll reload and then I can go inside and get that other guy. Or you're thinking, I'm the last Guardian standing and this guy's coming right at me. I don't want to run to the left because I might give a short route from the guy in the back across the other side. He's going to cut right to me. What I have to do is back up straight behind me and kind of funnel him to me. And when you start doing those little micro decisions to go, okay, all right, I got this, but I need to think about what happens next, that's high level positioning.
Yeah. And this, like we were talking earlier, you want to keep comboing, finding things from your earlier, levels like bronze and silver and gold and comboing them into this, higher level thinking with like platinum. And like I'm saying is movement skills combo very well with positioning because you want to be the first or you want to find that angle or get to a place on the map first. And you use your movement skills to get there first. Well,
not just your movement skills, but you also have to factor in that bronze skill of what loadout you picked, because the right position with an auto rifle is different than the right position with the shotgun, than the right position with a sniper or a fusion or a scout. You know that there's a sweet spot where even if it's otherwise a 50-50, you both have a clear shot, that you've got an edge and you're keeping the right amount of distance between you and your opponent. Because there's no perfect position on any map. There's some powerful points, but it's all relative to where your team is and where the enemy team is and where you want to keep them so your weapon just works best.
Yeah, and beyond using the best weapons, you might know exactly why using an IS Luna and an Icebreaker is good right now. But how can you use those the most effectively? Are you prepared to blint? Like if you get a body shot with that Icebreaker, you got to swap to your IS Luna right away, finish them off. If you're a big time shotgun player, you might know that having a strong melee is really going to help you because you got to be quick. You might have half the pellets hit and you need to have your fingers so ready to follow with a melee so that it's almost happening simultaneously. All those little mechanical combos to just maximize absolute efficiency and absolute killing potential. That's all going to happen in this area.
I also think utilizing hip firing is in this area too.
Yeah,
because it's something that you're not always thinking about. A lot of as you learn your shooting and your gun skills, you're ingrained in that. I'm going to aim down sights for literally everything. This is an area where you start to unlearn that thought. At least for me, it was like, oh yeah, hip firing is a very useful tool in my toolkit here.
Yeah, I mean, getting into these sort of high level high level sort of combos. So the blint where you get the snipe body shot and you switch off, or just going for that melee automatically after every shotgun. These are not things you learn on accident. These really require dedicated practice. You have to go in and say, all right, I'm running Queen's Breakers today. I'm going for that 160 body shot. This is all about the blint. This is what I'm working on. Or, I'm going to run a shotgun, and, I might even run invective or something just so I have plenty of ammo. I don't care if it takes 3 shots or whatever to kill them. And I'm just going to focus on that close the gap, slide, shotgun, melee engagement combo. And you just work these things over and over and over. And I've found that even when there's a month or more between me, working on that slide shotgun melee and then actually needing it, that I've really taken the time to ingrain it in my muscle memory, and I do it automatically, and I didn't know that I was going to do it. And it's the thing that gets me the kill, and it keeps me alive. And I go, oh, I wasn't planning on that, but that's nice. Thank you. Thank you, muscle memory. Glad I practiced.
We can also talk about using abilities with your movement. Are you synced up so that you not only know what's the most effective tool, but what's a way you can create space, put yourself in a safe spot while being aggressive? So a hunter jumping straight up in the air and dropping a skip grenade right at their feet to bounce into the guy's face, or a Titan that can stick someone with a solar with a fusion grenade and Twilight Garrison immediately to the side, knowing that they're going to get cauterized to kick in as long as they can stay safe for just another half a second. All of those combinations where movements come into play and getting kills while flying through the air. I mean, all of that is some really high level mechanic stuff.
I can show you the world.
I think there's a big part of Platinum that makes this focused practice so important. You can't cheat it. You can't skip this. And I think the biggest part of it is that these skills of how do I get to a good position? What is a good position? What angle do I want? Where do I go if this plan fails? And also knowing, all right, I'm in this position. I'm going to need to execute this combo well to secure it. This is something that really changes on every single map. Like, the concepts are the same, but you have to figure these things out. You have to be thinking about these on every single map to say, all right, I'm playing Blind Watch. I need to reposition. What's a good position here? What's my loadout? What am I doing here? You need to go through all of these combinations. You need to do your research. You need to watch it. And alternately, when a new map comes out and we're all sort of on the same footing, the people who really focus on answering these questions, they get a kind of a quick advantage here because they learn where those spots are. You learn where that one sneaky angle on Widow's Court where you can peek and snipe half of the B side and the tower and get away with it. And you had to figure that out the hard way. You had to know how to get there, what it was safe, and then learn the combo that's going to get you the kill when you're there.
Platinum here has probably the largest set of skills to learn, and a lot of people can hit a wall here. I feel like this is kind of like that 1.50 KD where you're doing really well. You have all the, map awareness, the movement skills, your gun skills. But then you start with these like very fine tuning of your mechanics, and you start to figure out that like, okay, it's a lot of work at this point. It's not just, it's not just these big realizations that, I need to work on this. I'm like, I'm getting better at this. Platinum seems to be that place where you don't want to get discouraged. You're going to keep finding small victories in your improvement.
Yeah, there's definitely a big learning hurdle to get over at this area. But guys, let me ask you a question. You guys are both hosts of a Crucible podcast. How many times have you heard someone mention or ask you guys, man, I do so good in Clash and Control and Rift and Rumble and whatever. I can play Supremacy and get so many points, but I just can't go flawless.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Good against bad players, bad against good players.
Yeah, all the time, right? Like, that's such a common thing. And that's because when we move past platinum here, we are talking about high-level thinking and high-level thinking on a team level. And that is where so many platinum pub stompers can just really, really hit a wall with their game.
Yeah.
I think one thing that kind of keeps people at this level, and look, sometimes I get myself up to an elevated state of consciousness. Sometimes I drop back down and have to grind my way out of platinum thinking. But I think the thing that gets a lot of people out of this plateau onto the next level, and the thing that keeps a lot of people here, is how you approach this. And look, if you want to play video games because video games are fun and you don't want to think about it, and you just rely on your muscle memory, go and have a good time, that's fine. That is a totally valid way to play games. But you can take a different approach, which is to say, I'm bored with just playing the game. I want to win. And if that means that I don't just auto-load Clash as soon as I play, just mash square every time I die, but instead start doing things like watching your footage back, or coming up with a goal for a placed session, or recognizing when you're on tilt and taking steps to address it. That can be a thing that's really challenging for people because you don't want to be a tryhard and it's just a game and when you take it so seriously. But you can also get to a point where you say, hey, this is like any other sport. This is something that you don't progress past a certain level on accident. You kind of have to work at it. And I think once people make the shift into that mindset and say yeah, call me a tryhard. I want to try hard. I want to practice and play and have those maybe be different things that I go out to do. That's what's going to take you into this next level of Diamond.
So for Diamond, we had one word that you should focus on at this level, and that's communication. But I want to take it one step further and talk about a few layers of communication when we say that. When we say communication, I'm thinking of how you talk about your game and the game itself while not playing, and can you turn that into a learning scenario? How you talk in the moment, providing your teammates with information, and how you can communicate with your teammates as a shot caller, giving them instruction that will help win the game. Because at the Diamond level, these are where players can start carrying people in trials, or take their friends flawless, or just absolutely destroy, or start to get into scrimmages and things like that. Or like Birds was just saying, evaluating the game, your game outside of it, watching replays, but getting something out of that, and then talking with your friends about how can I learn here, or adequately describing your game in a helpful way.
So where do we want to start with this communication stuff? We can start with specific in-game communication things like callouts, or we could talk about, kind of the big picture, what it means to put your mic on, go in with the fire team, or even just talk to strangers, and sort of the big picture attitude of what happens when you get on comms and you tell other people something you think they need to know.
Yeah, I think maybe a word that appears in brackets or is the silent vowel before the word communication is efficient communication. And that's not only saying something at all, but is it fast? Is it helpful? Is it to the point? And is it clear?
Yeah, whatever I think of communication like that short, concise communication, I think very distinctly about that Ramblinnn and Dr. Lupo thing from Bannerfall on Trials, where they're just being very efficient with their call outs, and it helps Ramblinnn just get this crazy win that, someone from a platinum or lower level probably wouldn't have gotten.
Yep, you got one push mohawk, two push mohawk right now. One's on Spark, one's pushing you. One on Spark's fading back, one is out of boxes right now getting res. Their window inside, drop it down, running back to Spark spawn. Cutting back towards the window. He's in window now. In window still. Right side of the window. Drop down, push into the lobby. Push into the lobby, he's hiding behind a box. Might push out. Got all three right there. It's triple tether.
Yeah, certainly not acting on their own, right? And those call outs From Lupo, the comms were clear. There wasn't panic. There wasn't frustration in the voice. It was just a streamline of information.
He also utilized his map awareness and understanding of all of the mechanics and knowing where everything is to give those concise call outs to be like, he's instead of, hey, he's up there, it's, hey, he's top bridge, or a very distinct call out.
Let's go ahead and say link in the show notes. I'm going to post right now, guys. We've got to remember to put this link in the show notes because you got to go watch this video. It is a masterclass in good communication. But if you're not at that master level yet, I think there's some even more basic ideas that you can start thinking about. The first one is going to be, are you talking at all? And this can be a big one, when you're used to playing single player games or you're used to solo queue, just even learning to sort of talk and play at the same time is challenging. You want to kind of focus, you're biting your lip, but you also want to give your teammates information about what's going on. On the flip side, you can't talk too much. You can't be dominating comms. You can't be talking about your bad beat. You kind of got to keep the comms clear so people don't get overloaded. They can actually use this information. And just finding that line alone, that's a big part of learning how to communicate well.
This was one of the very first episodes we did, and it came from frustration. I think it was me and Bones. We played some trials with someone that just was absolutely tilted the entire time.
Yeah.
And we made a point of it, be like, hey, we should talk about this. This is like an episode topic. And the fact that this person's tilted comms, took over the entire, party chat, it didn't help. None of it helped. They were just clogging the information, and it made it so that it was hard to get the win. And who knows if he had more concise call outs and didn't, complain the entire time, would we have won? Maybe, but it didn't help in the moment.
I think that's part of what makes this a skill, is that you do the exact same thing with your communication. If you're winning, if you're losing, if you just died because of lag, or you traded and you shouldn't have, or because something is cheap, or because you're going off and you're hype and you just wipe the whole team and you've got to get ready for the next spawn. That good team communication, good call outs, it's kind of the same in those situations. Yeah, your tone of voice might change, but good call outs are a universal thing. And that is, I remember, Swain, thinking about that episode, that was a big shift, is when you die in like a skirmish or a revive mode and you're just sitting on your ghost, how do you react? Do you go silent? Do you go, do you complain about the bad beat? Or do you go, okay, this is my chance. I've got a guy with a red outline. I can tell my teammates what's up here and start and jump immediately into contributing in whatever way you can versus, I'm dead, so my team is dead to me.
Fair.
They didn't keep me alive.
So let's talk real quickly. What makes a good call out? What's good information, and what makes a bad call out? What's too much? I think we can lightning round because there's probably a bunch to it here.
Short.
Good call out is short.
Yep.
Descriptive.
Yeah.
It gives you a location usually.
Yep. And that means knowing what things are called, even if you don't know the official name or you haven't studied the call out map.
But D2, that'll be a thing. You'll have descriptions of places on the map. Yep.
I think part of it is letting your teammates know how many people they're up against. So it's not just building, but 2 in building, 1 spawn left of building. That kind of information, so they know if they should dive in there and kill them or if they need to hold back and defend, because that's where the big push is coming from.
I think in 3, something like collapsing on someone.
Yep.
That those number of games, they're down 1. Okay, that means a push rather than, their full strength 3.
A big one is indicating a change in decision making in the opponents. So if I'm the last guy standing and there's two coming at me, I might be pretty okay if I know that both are coming to kill me because I can use my radar and get an early pick. But if one decides to go for the revive, it's great to know I might be back turned running to get a new spot. And if I suddenly hear that one of those guys is going for the revive, I could change my course entirely.
Letting them know they have ults.
Letting them know if they're absolute and they really just need someone to chase them and ding them once.
Wait, can I re-say that? Letting them know that they have supers.
Yep, or that the super is in progress and you need to book it away. Or maybe they're absolute, they're one, they're red, take your pick, but that not just they exist, but what your team needs to do is follow them and just ding them with a bullet before they start recovering.
Or if they're not absolute, don't just say they are because, they're absolute, oh my God, is not the same as, they actually need a few shots from a last word to die. That can trip people up more than you think.
That'll be something that'll get real tough with Destiny 2. It'd be like, knowing that they're absolute, but like maybe not knowing that there's a heal pad there. And
yeah, exactly.
You run in and this guy is almost full health again. You're like, you said he was absolute.
You said he was weak, man.
Yep. Calling out that biotic field. I think once everyone has sort of mastered the basic skill of giving information, there's another level, which is the captain, the shot caller, or maybe just the person who seems to have their head on their shoulders for this round. This is not just giving information, but this is giving your teammates an idea, give them direction, give them something to rely on. And even if you're not perfect, you're the one saying, they're down one, push, got the pick, or I'm going to flank around, keep them busy, or fall back. You're absolute, get your health. Giving your teammates something more than just some knowledge, but also some advice, because maybe they're in the heat of the moment and they don't have the same information.
And you can use the list that we've been doing in this episode, literally everything up until this second, to become a better shot caller. If you want to be that type of person that helps players go flawless or things like that. So you got to think about, okay, what is a person at the silver or gold level missing? What are they forgetting? Because there's a lot of information to remember. So you can be that sort of reminder. Maybe in between a round, you're going, okay, he just used his golden gun, or they've pushed to this side every single round. Let's get there first this time and surprise them. All of that information that they might not be containing and utilizing, give them a real clear picture of the exact thing they can focus on. And you are now filling in all the little gaps of their abilities that helps them play to the best of theirs.
There's one last topic on communication I think is important to call out. And that's what happens right when the match ends, especially if you just lost. And this is tough because whole teams can go on tilts together. Maybe it started with one bad death and one person who got rubbed the wrong way. And this is hard to do. I mean, we talk about it and it's difficult, especially when, you're playing banner and maybe you don't know everyone in the party. But there's nothing like that silence after a close loss and being the person to lighten the mood, make a joke, change the subject, or maybe compliment the other team, say what they did well, or come up with a constructive piece of advice for what you want to work on in next game. And this is the kind of thing that sort of carries over round to round. When you're trying to go flawless, this can be what takes you to the lighthouse, is that not only you did well in the moment, but you kept that good mindset up across match to match. And that comes from how you talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys.
So our final
last one,
our final rung of the ladder of skill might not be the one that we currently cling to, but we sure can talk about it. And that's playing at a master level. You are one of the best to play this game. Your fundamentals are solid. You utilize things that other players just can't utilize or can't do all at one time. You play at a competitive level. You might be on a team, or you just might be untouchable. But there are things that you focus on and that diamond players focus on to get to this level, just like any other level, just like there's specific things that a bronze player needs to focus on. And at this master's level, it can seem like a lot, but really it's I don't know, it's fairly simple, at least in my mind. And that's just knowing strategy, tactics, and absolutely everything else you can do to slightly improve your game and make sure that you can play at the best, most comfortable level.
Usually involves spending a little bit of money because we're super serious tryhards.
Yeah, and there's an asterisk on that, and that I do want to talk about. I think it's very important to talk about, especially considering this podcast, because we work on all of these things. But let's just jump into, moving on from communication, working with your team. You've got to know strategy and how to solve a game like skirmish. Like a chess game, like all right, we all know how to go out and kill there. We're all very good at shooting, but so how do we beat 3 other people who are very good at shooting? And that's strategy.
I love the difference between strategy and tactics. This is when I first learned this, it just something clicked for me because this is such an important distinction. Strategy is the big picture. This is winning the war. This is beating the other team 5 games in a row in trials.
Mm-hmm.
This is call in the push. This is, are we going left? Are we going right? Are we going to hold back and wait for special? This is the big picture stuff that happens over an entire round. Tactics, on the other hand, is all about the engagement. You are in it. Your teammates are getting shot. You're shooting them. And this is those quick calls to say, I got to reposition. I got to fall back. Or we got the pick. Go ahead. Collapse on them. These are, and that sounds a lot like communication because that's how you share it, but it's really about knowing what to do at each stage. And you can be good at one and be bad at the other. You can be great in the heat of it and just know instinctually, this is the tactical decision I need to do in order for us to win this fight, and not be in a position where you feel comfortable telling your whole team as the match starts, here's what we're going to do this round. Follow me. I'm calling the shot here, or vice versa.
This is at this level, there becomes several different types of players that succeed. You can be a player that doesn't have necessarily the best gun skill or, movement abilities, but their tactics shine and outweigh all of that and become more useful in the moment, than anyone else. A great tactician can be, paramount to the success to a very competitive team.
I mean, there's so much we could go into here, and probably in a later episode we'll really get into some examples. I think probably the biggest thing, and this depends on all the others, you have to know the map, you have to know where you can move to, where you can reposition to. You need good communication from your teammates. But I think one of the biggest skills here, the way you start practicing stuff in the first place, is that you got to believe. You got to believe that you could tell your teammates what to do and that they're not going to resent you for bossing them around, but they're going to rely on you. And even if you don't make the perfect call every time, or even most of the time, that you're committing to taking on a leadership role and trying it out. It doesn't mean it's permanent, but you take that plunge into being a teammate who guides their team to victory instead of just, I put up my fair share of kills this match.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's no lack of confidence at this level. I mean, someone might be have nerves if they're rolling up to a gaming tournament and they're going to play on a monitor, but in front of 5,000 people on a stage. But I mean, they also know that they can do it. And these teams aren't talking to each other, guys, man, I know we can make it. We're not so bad, or blah, blah, blah. They're just ready to go. And they might have to get someone out of a tilt. They might have to say, yo, keep your head in the game. You're tilting right now. But it is certainly a confidence level that is not seen at other skill levels.
This is one that I think it really helps to learn from great players. This is a tough one to figure out on your own. And I remember, you guys remember when it was I think one of the first times we'd sort of casually scrimmed in a group. And Swain, you and I were on a team with Asteroid, and we ended up going off that night. I think we ended up sort of winning the series. But I learned so much from Asteroid in that moment because, we were relying on him to put up the kills. He's a great player, but he communicated so much good direction to us and stuff that wasn't even part of my narrative yet. The main one being, hey, fall back, get your health. I can see you're low. Fall back, get your health. It's okay. Like, you don't have to go chase him down. You don't have to die. And seeing that kind of thing, or watching a dedicated Trials player do a double carry and seeing how he directs his teammates, it really helps to sort of learn from the best here. And that means, doing some research, finding someone you click with.
And even like I said earlier, like a good tactician will be paramount to a team. But that tactician can be really, if they're good enough, they can carry the weight of, the rest of the team and become much, much, much more. And like that's what, like you said, where you see people who are doing Trials carries, they're elevating the people that they're helping to another level with their skill and their their tactical abilities.
Yeah, and at this level, we don't necessarily see Luminosity carrying Bomb Squad Kittens, but at the Masters level and competitive level, you see play styles and player styles start to form and take shape. So on BSK, you've got Anbu, who is just the spark, right? Like, he gets everyone going. He runs in there. He gets the kills. He is unstoppable. He's hype when he gets a triple down. And then the rest of the team sort of feeds off that energy. Meanwhile, Lumi is the focused, reserved strategy, tactics. Like, all right, guys, here we go. All right, here's our next play. Focus on this. And you can have one person really exceed at one skill while another player exceeds at another. And then you're not really lacking anywhere on your team as a whole unit. But this high level stuff is so much more about unit rather than the individual player in so many ways. And that's where you start to see it a game played at its truest form.
So if you're looking to break into this level, you feel like you're doing everything well, you're a good individual player, you're a good team member, and you want to start trying this, keep playing, keep practicing. I would say start small. Find one level, find one thing that you want to make your communication. Probably one of the best ones to start with is when it's 3v3 and your team gets a pick and you know that you can push in on them and have a good shot. Maybe that's it. Maybe you just want to call that push, call the pick and call the push. And you start there, see how it works, and you're going to get it wrong sometimes. Just focusing on this one thing to work on, it becomes part of your repertoire. Just like learning how to land headshots becomes automatic. This can become automatic in time, and you kind of build on this over time because it's all about getting that edge.
We mentioned the asterisk that I would put at the end of the master stuff, and that is about gaming peripherals, the things you can equip yourself to have an edge. And that is stuff like hardware, like controllers, keyboards, the sort of things that give you comfort that you need and the little edge that you need, because
I mean, you're not going to be playing on a Wi-Fi.
Right, exactly.
If you're playing at a high level.
You need to make sure you have a good connection if you are a competitive player, that sort of thing. If you put two of the most highest skilled players up against each other in a game like StarCraft, the guy that's got a sizable mouse pad and a good gaming keyboard is going to beat the guy who's given like a Dell default keyboard, like you need that sort of thing at that level. But the reason I throw an asterisk at the end of Masters here is sort of our big point to all of this. As a listener of this entire show today, is all of this stuff can be considered for your game. Absolutely. It certainly won't hurt your game to think about these things. Do I play better with the Scuff and Control Freaks? Yeah, I have a little bit of more quickness, and boy, are my hands way more comfortable than a default PlayStation 4 controller that hurts my hands so much. But it's not the one thing that is going to take me from platinum to masters, right? Like, it's not, and I can certainly talk strategy. I mean, I love strategy, and I think I know strategy, and I love to commentate it, but I do got to work on some fundamentals. I need my melee to be fast right after I get a shotgun off, and I'm not that quick with that. I need my reaction time to be super precise. I need to be able to make decisions. So all throughout this scale of skill levels, you can take bits and pieces from all levels and work on that, but it is super critical that you're focusing on your big problem areas where your skill level falls on the plane, because those are the things that are blocking you from climbing the ladder.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's an asterisk there because it's, it will help you. It's not something that you absolutely need. A lot of people get by using claw on on their controller, and they swear by it. And that's something I would never be able to do. That's I'm just too old.
I know, like we're just being like moderately like millennials that are just past the prime of gaming age is a weird thing to realize sometimes. But yeah, I mean, all those things and watching a good player and listening to how they do call outs will help a bronze player. But a bronze player needs to first get the movement and shooting down, just like a gold player needs to make sure that they're being the most aware that they can before they start thinking that their Ethernet cable isn't a monster cable and should buy a new one or something like that. I don't know if Monster Cable makes Ethernet cables, but it seems like something that they would do.
Sure they do.
It's a cable.
Plated.
I do want to say, let's end here with a little bit of advice. I personally, because we do this show, because I'm constantly thinking about all the different things I want to learn, and I want to, have an understanding of this game on all these different levels. I do want to say that don't get caught up thinking about everything on every level, because then you start losing your focus. And I think a big part of this episode, big part of why we wanted to do this was because we want to kind of narrow it down into where you think you are and where you should be putting your focus. Especially if you're like reviewing your gameplay or you're looking back at, clips that you have. You want to be focusing on these different levels and where you are, because there's definitely some things that I work on that are like masters, grandmaster, that are in masters. And it's something maybe I shouldn't be focusing on. Maybe I should be just focusing on my movement a little bit better and not moving, rushing into the fight. So it's something that I will always be working on and trying to balance.
Yeah, Swain, you mentioned there watching your gameplay back, and that is such a good way to start with this, because it can be difficult and even impossible to tell in the heat of the moment where you messed up, where you died, what the mistake you made was. It's become so much easier to see when you just hit that save clip button, hit the share button, save clip, however they do it on Xbox, do that, go back and watch the game. And you're right, there's an order to this. And the reality is that we've all got strong suits. We all have elements of every aspect of this. But if you are watching your gameplay back and you see, wow, I missed that jump, I just straight whiffed it, that probably, spending an hour practicing your blint is just not the thing you need at that point. That doesn't mean that you're a silver level player, but that you've got a gap, and that you don't want to focus on the high level stuff while there's still low hanging fruit to address. You could also look at this as maybe just how you warm up. That everyone plays some warm up matches, everyone gets in the zone, and you kind of go through these levels every time you play. First, just can I load in? Can I shoot people? Can I get a couple kills? Am I moving well around corners? Am I not dying because I'm keeping track of the enemy team? Am I thinking like a team? Am I working with my teammates? And then finally, you're warm, you're ready. You've got your head in the space where that stuff becomes automatic, and you can say, let's put it to the test. Let's play a ticket.
We should play a ticket.
They're doing moon-based rotation this weekend.
Yep.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I wanna do this one. That's a good one.
I just want all Cauldron, but I'll take once every 3 games.
There's a chance you get Cauldron the entire time.
Cauldron cast before D1 is over or Riot. So, that's our first Back to Basics episode, and I think this is going to provide the foundation for all other Back to Basics topics. This is where we go from here, and nailing down the fundamentals that we've, not talked about for a while on this show, but also just kind of forget by playing every day, working on different things. Sometimes you get real focused on improving one element of your game, and one falls behind. So moving forward into Destiny 2, the thing you're going to want to bring over is your fundamentals. And those things will help you so much when you're picking up a familiar but very different game. And you want to just get right to the part where you start winning in the Crucible. And this is going to help.
I feel like something we've been doing in season 2 of Crucible Radio is asking more specifically for what we want to hear from you, from our listeners, what I want to see in the comments, whether you're on Reddit, whether on YouTube, no matter where you are. Tell us your story. Tell us that thing that leveled you up. Tell us the thing that took you from a mediocre player to a player who can dominate a playlist, to a player who can dominate any playlist. And maybe it was a lot of little things, but tell your story. Maybe you think we got our order wrong. Maybe you think we're focusing on the wrong thing at the wrong time. Let us know. Tell us how you got good. And we could talk about it in these upcoming episodes.
I'm looking forward to this, and we don't even know if there's going to be a lot of D2 news from now until whenever. We got so much to talk about.
E3.
E3, there's that.
E3, yes.
All right, well, it's the weekend. You're listening to this on Monday, but we are going to go enjoy our weekend. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
Yeah. As always. Leave us a review on iTunes. Give us some 5 stars. Help us climb the charts so that when Destiny 2 comes out and these new listeners want to find how to get good at the Crucible, they can find us. And we can grow this great community of amazing people a little bit larger.
Come join the Discord.
Yeah.
It's open. Everyone's hanging out. A lot of games getting going in the LFG channels, and always good Destiny talk everywhere else, and quite a bit of LaCroix discussion as well.
Discord.gg/Crucible Radio. That's the easiest way to get there.
And if you are one of those master level players and you're really looking to get that last bit of edge, then check out our sponsors. Go to scuff.com and get yourself a controller. Go to Control Freaks and get a little more reach on those sticks. Fine-tune that aiming. It's offer code Crucible. It's going to hook you up with a little discount.
All right, guys. See you next week with some E3 talk, some more basics, back to the basics, and
some less basics. It's going to be some medium basics.
Medium basics, yes.
Back to the big basics.
And we're probably going to make some jokes. I can't promise
Not guaranteed.
But, yeah.
I'm going to finally shake this bully by then.
Right,
no, you're not. You're going to be still practicing.
Oh my God,
the Crucible,
still here.
and you're going to die.
He's haunting my dreams. It's my biggest
Shut
fear.
up, you turd. Let me take over. I'm the new
You're
host.
a turd.
Birds is out. You're a turd. You eat your own turds.
I not eat my own turds. All right, guys, I'm out of
The
here.
fact that you even defended that makes you a turd.
No, that makes you a turd for bringing it up. Oh, you really bring out the worst in me, kid. I feel ugly inside.
Birds, quit tilting. Remember your basics.
Bye, guys.
Turd.
Well, everyone, thank you for listening to the show, and thank you for checking out the Super Soul Bros. I just like to think that we're doing a late night show. These guys are the house band. I get to listen to them every night. Go check them out at supersoulbros.com. And if you're a musician, we want to hear the music. We want it, the music. Send it to us, crucibleradio@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
What's up, everyone? Bones here. Do you like podcasts? Do you like chill conversation? Well, me and my co-hosts Swain and Birds put out a bonus podcast every month on Patreon. If you want to check it out and be a part of more awesome stuff, head over to patreon.com/Crucible Radio and join the squad. See you there.